Good morning, Wind Chasers. Glad that you joined me again today for another episode of Chasing the Wind. We are chasing after the Holy Spirit, finding out what God is doing in our lives. Today, I'm excited about sharing with you about another wind chaser. I don't know that they realize they're a wind chaser, but I'm pretty sure they are. If they don't know they're a wind chaser, they're going to know pretty soon they're wind chasers. This is from a guy, young man named Josh, and here's how I know Josh. I want to share you how I know Josh. I was part of a ministry here in the area where I pastor called Impact, and we would go into the schools, and actually the students would do student-led Bible studies. I was an advisor. That's how I met this young man. He was one of my kids, so to speak. And Josh, whenever it was his turn to do the little Bible study, little devotion that we would have, he would always do it out of Joshua. It was his favorite book of the Bible. I can't imagine why. I always told him that Mark was a better book, but I don't think he bought into it. But anyway, Josh almost always did his devotion out of the book of Joshua, and it was always encouraged. Josh was a great kid. I just love Josh and still do. He's a good man. He's working toward. He is chasing after the wind, and I don't know they really would ever put it that way, but that is what he's doing it. So here's the cool thing: is he messaged me on Facebook and saw this podcast and he just wanted to encourage me a little bit with it. But then he says to me when I responded to him the next morning, he messaged me at like midnight or something. You know, young people do that. I'm an old guy. I go to bed at 11 or something. Anyway. He texts me or messaged me this morning. He says, guess what I was just told in my time with God, in my Bible, which I'm glad his time with God is in his Bible. That's always a good thing. And I joked him. I said, well, you're probably in Joshua reading about being courageous. And then he told me this, and I got his permission to talk about this. He goes, nope, just doing different reading plans. And I was reading Isaiah 62, 1 through 5, and I found my calling and actually was told. And I feel it in my heart, and I have a passion for it. And signs are pointing all over that I'm meant for that kind of job. And my love for the Lord, my drive to want to be a leader, me wanting to change the world and help as many people as I can, my love for my country. Can you guess? And he goes, also my love for the military. And then he tells me what God's wanting him to do. And I guessed, actually, at one point by just reading what I read, and I felt in my spirit as I was reading that passage, too, that whatever God was telling Josh, I'm pretty sure it's what God's telling him. And I said, so you're supposed to be a congressman, then the president. And I was just kind of, guessing. Goes, the highest you can go, and yes, president. That was just warmed my heart. And he says... he says, my heart's racing. Isn't that cool? I just love that a young person has such big aspirations. And I joked with him. I said, I can't imagine how big your backpack will be. And then I told him to do it before I die, please, because I want to make sure I'm there that I can watch him being inaugurated or whatever the case is. Josh always had this gargantuan backpack. I don't know how he didn't have to go to the chiropractor to get it all taken care of, but when he becomes a congressman and then a president, then the president of the United States, he's going to have a really, really big backpack. And I said, do it before I die. So I want to make sure. He goes, well, I got to be at least 35, and I'm like, I know, I understand that. I did take. They made us take the Constitution, all that stuff when we were in school. Here's the thing, folks. I hope you're encouraged by this. I love hanging out with young people because they make me feel younger. I love hearing their passion. I love hearing the young people talk. I met yesterday with a young man, about 19, 20 years old, telling me about what he's wanting to do. He just loves the Lord. I love hearing young people that love the Lord and are really wanting to do something. Young people, if you were watching this, share this. Older people, okay, you adults, share this on your Facebook page. Share it all wherever you need to share it. I don't care. Go to Drash Ministries. You'll find stuff on there. There's all sorts of good stuff from Andy Frudd, Bob Benson, Mel McGinnis. Good stuff on there. That I want to share stories of this. Share your stories with me of chasing the wind. I'm not the only one chasing the wind here. I want you to join me on this journey and to chase the wind. Let me know what God's doing in your life, how you feel Him leading you, and what He's doing. I was just on another podcast with a couple of other guys that do this, And we were talking about a theology of suffering. Sometimes when we're chasing the wind, it's going to require, we're going to find ourselves suffering a little bit, but it's part of how God's going to use that to form our character. We're chasing the wind here, folks, what the Holy Spirit is doing, how we see him moving and in our lives, in and through and with our lives, what maybe God is doing in your life to form you, what God is doing through you to form someone else. Maybe even what God's doing to you to create and to put you right where he wants you to be. Who knows, you might be finding yourself doing a podcast someday and freaking out when it gets posted and you have people watching it. It doesn't matter. God's up to something. God's moving in Josh's life, and I just love it. I just look forward to the day, and if I don't get to see if he becomes president after I've died, I'm going to hopefully look down from heaven and watch him being inaugurated. I don't know. We'll see what God's up to in the rest of Josh's life. What's he up to in yours? That's what this is about, folks. It's not meaninglessness, as the teacher says in Ecclesiastes. This is about chasing the other wind, the Ruach, the Pneuma, the Holy Spirit. So keep chasing after the wind. Keep chasing after the Holy Spirit and being more present to God and what God is doing in your life. So, until next week, grace and peace, and I will talk to you again soon.